HTML Style Guide. A consistent, clean, and tidy HTML code makes it easier for others to read and understand your code. Here are some guidelines and tips for creating good HTML code. Always declare document type. Always declare the document type as the first line in your document. The correct document type for HTML is, and what you do is you open angle brackets, you type in the exclamation mark doc type in uppercase letters, space, and then in lowercase letters you type in HTML. And we can open Visual Studio Code, and we're gonna create a file named index.html. So you click in new file, we're gonna name it index.html, and this is what we have here. So use lowercase element names. HTML allows mixing uppercase and lowercase letters and element names. However, we recommend using lowercase element names because mixing uppercase and lowercase names looks bad. Developers normally use lowercase names. Lowercase looks cleaner. Lowercase is easier to write. So this would be a good example. You have the body element, and inside of the body element we have the paragraph and some text. But as you can see, we're using the body element as in lowercase. A bad example would be the same. The body element, we have a paragraph inside, but the body element is in uppercase letters, so this would be a bad example. Okay, so close all HTML elements. In HTML, you do not have to close all elements, for example, the paragraph element. However, we strongly recommend closing all HTML elements like this. So here we have an example. We have a section element. Inside of the section element, we're gonna have two paragraph elements. So the first paragraph element, we start the paragraph tag, we have some text here, and then we end the paragraph tag with angle brackets /p, and we do the same for the second paragraph. So this is a good example of how to use the closing HTML elements. A bad example would be we have the section element, and inside we're gonna have two paragraphs, but we are starting the tag but we are not ending the tag. So here, for example, we have the paragraph, but we don't have an end tag like open angle brackets /p. So this is the correct way to do that. And now we have use lowercase attribute names. HTML allows mixing uppercase and lowercase letters and attribute names. However, we recommend using lowercase attribute names because mixing uppercase and lowercase names looks bad. Developers normally use lowercase names. Lowercase looks cleaner. Lowercase is easier to write. So this is a good example. We have the A element, we have the href =, double quotes, and inside of the double quotes we're gonna have our URL. Outside of that we're gonna have our context, and then we're gonna end the A tag, and we do that with angle brackets /a. So this is a good example. The bad example of the incorrect way to do that, it'll be like open angle brackets, we have the A element, we have the href, everything is the same, but the href is in uppercase letters, as you can see. So this could be considered the incorrect way to do that. Now we're gonna be always code attribute values. HTML allows attribute values without quotes. However, we recommend quoting attribute values because developers normally quote attribute values. Quoted values are easier to read. You must use quotes if the value contains spaces. So a simple and good example would be the table element. We have the class =, double quotes, and inside of the double quotes we're gonna have striped. This is a good example. A bad example would be we have the table element, we have the class attribute =, and then we just type stripe without the double quotes. So as you can see, we have the double quote here after the =, but here we are lacking the double quotes after the the equal sign. That is a bad example, and a very bad example would be this one. This will not work because the value contains spaces. So we have the table element, we have the class attribute equal signs. Again, we don't have the double quotes, but we have table stripes. So this is not gonna work. The correct way to do that, it'll be like this. So you grab this example, you go to, let's go to Visual Studio Code, and okay, so it'll be here. This one should be inside of the double quotes, so we can put some double quotes here and double quote at the end, and this is how it should look like. And then just your to end the tag, and that is the way. So always specify alt, width and height for images. Always specify the alt attribute for images. This attribute is important if the image for some reason cannot be displayed. Also, always define the width and height of images. This reduces flickering because the browser can reserve space for the image before loading. So a good example would be this image. We have the image element, we have the source attribute equal sign double quotes. Inside of the double quotes we're gonna have the name of the file, that is gonna be html5.gif. so that gif is the extension. We have the alt attribute, that is a description, equal sign double quotes html5, and then we're gonna have the style attribute equal sign double quotes, and inside of the double quotes we're gonna have the width colon 128 pixels semicolon height colon 128 pixels. And we already saw a couple of examples in previous videos about the image, so this is just an overview. In a bad example, it'll be just the image element, the source, but without the alt attribute and the style attribute. So now we're gonna move to spaces and equal signs. HTML allows spaces around equal signs, but spaceless is easier to read and groups entities better together. But spaceless is easier to read and groups entities better together. So a good example would be the link element. We have the rel attribute equal sign double quotes style sheet. Then we have the href equal sign double quotes styles.css. So it's grabbing it from the file CSS. A bad example would be, well, it's gonna work, but it'll be considered bad example, or pretty much this is considered the better way. Spaceless, this is the spaceless, easier to read and groups entities better together. So but the bad example would be the same, the link element, the rel attribute, but as you can see, before the equal sign we have a space, and also after the equal sign we have another space. And again with the href attribute, before the equal sign we have a space, and after the equal sign we have a space. So it's better to use the spaceless configuration or syntax. Avoid long quotes lines. When using an HTML editor, it is not convenient to scroll right and left to read the HTML code. Try to avoid too long code lines. So here we have the blank lines and indentation. Do not add blank lines, spaces, or indentations without a reason. For readability, add blank lines to separate large or logical code blocks. For readability, add 2 spaces of indentation. Do not use the tab key. Okay, so here, do not use the tab key. Okay, so this is what they consider a good example. And yeah, I mean, we have the body section. We have 2 lines of indentation here, as you can see. We have the heading 1, then we have again 2 lines of indentation. We have heading 2, a paragraph, again 2 lines of indentation, a heading 2, a paragraph, and 2 lines of indentation, heading 2 and paragraph, the final 2 lines of indentation, and then we have the end body tag. So this is the correct way to do that. The incorrect way to do that is gonna be like this. It's gonna look messy because you don't have any space between, for example, the body and the h1, then you have the h2, then you have the paragraph, and it looks kind of messy. This one looks more cleaner. So that is a good table example. So we have the table element, we have a space here, then we have the tr, that is the table row. Inside of the tr we're gonna have the table header, and then we're gonna have another table header. We close we end the tr, the table row, and then we're gonna start a new table row. Inside of that table, the second table row, we're gonna have a td, table data, two table datas, and then we're gonna end the table row. And now we're gonna have a third table row. Inside of the table row we're gonna have two table datas, and we're gonna end the table row, and finally we're gonna end the table tag. So this is considered a good table example, and we already saw these definitions in previous videos, so I'm just moving a little fast. So this is a good list example. You have another list, and inside of that we're gonna have three list items. So as you can see, this is the correct way to do that. Never skip the title element. The title element is required in HTML. The content of a page title is very important for search engine optimization, SEO. The page title is used by search engine algorithms to decide the order when listing pages and search results. The title element defines a title in the browser toolbar, provides a title for the page when it is added to favorites, displays a title for the page in search engine results. So try to make the title as accurate and meaningful as possible. So here we have the title, and we have HTML style guide encoding conventions. And if you go to your Visual Studio Code, you just type in shift exclamation mark, and here you're gonna have the title. This is the title element, and you can read all this information if you want. And that is that. Omitting HTML and body. So an HTML page will validate without the HTML and body tags. Example, so here we have the tag type HTML, but okay, what happened? Okay, so this time we don't have the HTML tag or the body tag, so we don't have these two. We have the head section, and inside of the head section we are gonna have the title element. We end the head tag, and outside of that we're gonna have an h1 and a paragraph. So if we click try it yourself, this is how it's gonna look. So it's gonna work, but it's not recommended to do this. However, we strongly recommend to always add the HTML and body tags. As you can see in the Visual Studio Code, we have the HTML here. We start the HTML tag, we end the HTML tag, and also we have the body section, lines 9 and 11. So that is that. Omitting the body tag can produce errors in other browsers. Omitting the HTML and body tags can also crash the DOM and XML software. Omitting the head section. The HTML head tag can also be omitted. Browsers will add all elements before body to add the full head element. So here we have this example. Pretty much is a basic syntax, but we don't have the head tag. So if we click try it yourself, it's gonna work. We're gonna have we have the title, we have the body. Inside of the body we have the h1 and a paragraph, so it's working, but we don't have the head tag. However, we recommend using the head tag, so you should always use the head tag. Close empty HTML elements. In HTML, it is optimal to close empty elements. Allow, for example, this is allow. We have angle brackets, we have the meta element, we have the char set attribute equal sign double quotes. Inside of the double quotes we're gonna have this UTF-8. This is allow. This is also allow. We open angle brackets, we have the meta element, we have the char set attribute equal sign double quotes UTF-8. We close the double quotes, and then we're gonna end up with a forward slash. So you have a space and then forward slash. If you expect XML/XHTML software to access your page, keep the closing slash because it is required in XML and XHTML. Add the length attribute. You should always include the length attribute inside of the HTML tag to declare the language of the web page. This is meant to assist search engine and browsers. So for example, I have it here. See, when I press shift exclamation mark and I have the HTML element, I have the length attribute =, double quotes, and then I have EN for English. So in this case you have length attribute =, double quotes, EN for English, hyphen US for the name of your country, USA. So that is that. So this is how it works. And now we're gonna see metadata to ensure proper interpretation and correct search engine indexing, both the language and the character encoding. So here we have the angle brackets meta charset =, double quotes charset should be defined as early as possible in an HTML document. So for example, this charset here is being declared inside of the head as early possible. And if we go to our Visual Studio Code here, I have the meta element, I have the charset attribute =, double quotes UTF-8, and it's declared in line 4. So it's the first declaration inside of the head section. So now we're gonna see setting the viewport. The viewport is the user's visible area of a web page. It varies with the device. It will be smaller on a mobile phone than on a computer screen. You should include the following meta element in all your web pages. So we already saw these examples. We have the meta element, the name attribute =, double quotes, viewport. We have the content attribute =, double quotes, and we have the width =, device hyphen width comma initial hyphen scale = 1.0, and then we close the double quotes. This gives the browser instructions on how to control the page's dimensions and scaling. The width =, device hyphen width part sets the width of the page to follow the screen hyphen width of the device, which will vary depending on the device. The initial hyphen scale = 1.0 part sets the initial zoom level when the page is first loaded by the browser. Here's an example of a web page without the viewport meta tag and the same web page with the viewport meta tag. So this is the example without the viewport meta tag. So we're gonna click it, see what happens. Okay, it's not loading. Let's try it again. Okay, so it's working this time. Let's go to 125. So we also gonna open the second one, view the port meta tag with viewport meta tag. So this is the one that it should look fine. So now we're gonna press Ctrl+Shift+I to open the Chrome Developer Tools, and now we're gonna press in here and toggle device toolbar. So now it's at 100%, and if you play around here, we're gonna be working with the width. So if you move around, you can see that it's responsive. As you can see, you can go left, right. So this is with the viewport. So this is with the viewport meta tag. So this one is without the viewport meta tag. So we're gonna Ctrl+Shift+I, and now we're gonna go to the toggle device toolbar and make sure it's in 100% here. And as you can see, this one is not responsive because it doesn't have the viewport. So that is that.